In this quick video, I'm going to go over the operation of the VFD clocks that I bought out of Japan, how to set them up, and how to avoid that display blanking bug. I figured, guys, I'll go over these clocks. You see, this one's in the 4-letter word mode here. It doesn't really make a lot of sense on the 7-segment display. Whereas the 16 segment, of course, this will display words that, and I guess, I don't know whether you can program your own. You might be able to program your own with a programmer on here, but how it works is at the 40-second mark, it's going to display a 4-letter word. It just displays stuff at random. And there's a procedure to put it into that mode. I can show you on this one here because it's got the full display, but I wanted to go over how we got screwed up with the display being blanked. Now you see when this one gets to 40, it's going to blank the display and it's going to go into the 4-letter word mode here. And it's going to display, nice, bold, loud, said, it just does things. And on a 7-segment display, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's more to demonstrate what these ones can do. So to turn this on and off, we're just going to select using the number 1 button on the back here. We're just going to move it through till we get a past 4-letter word. Let's go back there. We'll get to the one that says 4-letter word. And I'm going to press the right one, full, off. And now it should save. But it's going to take 1 minute to save. If I want to turn the 4-letter word on this one, the procedure is the same. I just press the number 1 button until I get to 4-letter word. I press the other button. I can change it to full and let it sit. Now, I have to wait. It's not going to do anything. I'm going to wait till I hear this thing beep. When it beeps, that means that it's been written into memory. Because it's not going to do anything right now. If we watch this thing count, it's going to get, the display will probably blank, but it's not going to do anything. I actually have to reset it in order to turn it on. So when it gets up to the 40-second point, it's just probably just going to blank the display out. Okay, the other one just beeped. You heard that one beep, or was it this one? I think it was this one that beeped. It's just going to blank the display, right? And that will make you think, okay, why is it blanking the display instead of displaying a word? Well, it's because once it writes to memory, you have to press the reset button over here. So if we press the reset button over here and reload the code, now when it gets to that 40-second point, it will display some random words. So we'll let it go through to there. And then I'll demonstrate a few of the other features and the trap to stay away from if you build one of these kits. Because this is the trap that I fell into. And it's not pretty. If you get stuck on this, you can spend a lot of time. But I'll show you how to get out of it if you do get stuck in here. So when this thing gets up to 40 seconds, it's going to start flashing 4-letter words. I haven't seen any bad words yet. I've got it in full, so it says it's uncensored. But it will start to tube, test, quiz, ball, play, kids, right? It does that every minute. And it's just more of a novelty, right? And if you've built the 16 segment, and the reason they have 4-letter words instead of 6-letter words is because this same clock is available as a 4-tube version that's less expensive, or the 6-tube version. So they've limited it to 4 letters. They could do 6 letters, I'm sure, but because he sells a 4-letter version, the code is limited to 4. Anyway, it's more of a demonstration so that if you're building one of these alphanumeric, when you're looking at numbers, it really doesn't do it justice because you're basically just looking at the same 7 segments. With the exception of the 0 and the 1, everything else is basically just creating digits the same way as a 7 segment. Except when you have the 4-letter word mode on, it will now give you a nice demonstration of how the alphanumeric tubes look, which is kind of cool. You know, if you've got this on display and just have it sitting up on a wall or sit up on a desk as a clock, having it spout out some 4-letter words at you, I say I haven't seen any bad ones yet, but it might. But anyway, that's that. Anyway, let's go into some of the other service settings on this. So on this clock here, it's exactly the same. The two boards are the same. In fact, this is the one that powered down. If you remember, it had the green light that blinked on it. This is the one that I had the trouble with. And here's where the trouble was. If you go into 24 hour, now here's the auto date, auto dim. That's the one there. If you enter that one, I didn't enter it, but if you enter auto dim by pressing the right button, it'll say off or on. I've probably turned the thing back on now. Even though I've set it, it says off, it's probably going to go into the on mode at the time that's selected. And that's the next one. That's when you go in here, you get into auto dim. Where are we here? Let me get around here again. Okay, auto dim, there. Off, if I press that's the right button. If I press the left button, okay, here's the hour. Number 1 is 10, right? 11, 12, etc. Then this is the level. I've now set it to 10, but by default, that was set to 0 by default out of the box. So let's get back into that again. Auto dim, right? Auto dim level number 1 is 10. Auto dim time number 2 is 8 hours, and then I've got that set to 10. These three here, that's the hour for it to trigger. This is the level, ADL. Right, so they were set to 0. So what would happen is by just entering that menu, by just going into that auto dim menu, and on this one over here, as you can see, it's a little easier to see this one. If I go in here 24 hours, auto date, auto dim, okay, off, right? Auto hour number 1 is 7 o'clock. And that one's set to 8. You see, I've just gone up and I've bumped these up. And that one's set to 5. And this one here is set to 2. So if I turn auto dim on this one, because I went in and manually changed them, I've got it set to 10 now. But if I went in and manually changed those and turned the auto dim on, the display would not go out. But that's only because after figuring out what happened to this one, I went in and actually set them up. So if I want to set this one up, if I want to set auto dim on, I could go to auto dim, turn it on, and then the first one is going to be at 12 o'clock. It's going to, if I want to set this, if I want to change the brightness level, say 12 o'clock to brightness number 6, and then the next one at 8 o'clock in the morning, I want to have it on brightness number, say I want to have that one on number 10. And the third one at, say, 0 hours, which is, and then I want to have this one, say, down at brightness level of 4. But I don't think I've saved it because I'm pretty sure I've got to do them one at a time. I had a heck of a time doing it. I got to do them one at a time and then wait a minute for them to save. So if I go here to auto dim on, okay, the first one, if I set the first brightness level, say I set this one down to, I'll set it to start at, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I want this one to be set to level of 2. I've got to let this sit now for about a minute for that to save, and then I'll go to the second time and I'll bump it up to the second setting, and then I'll bump the third. But there's 3 distinct settings that you have to set, and you have to set all of them. As I say, out of the box, this was 0. And of course, by entering that menu, it turned on the auto dimming and blanked my display. So now I should be able to go back into here now. It should have saved it by now. If I go back into this one here, whoops, wrong button. Auto dim. And this one is set to, where are we here? Whoops. Wasn't quick enough there. Auto dim. Yeah, level 2. And the next one's set 8 o'clock. You see it's still set to 10. And the third one, it's going to 4. Okay, so that's now set. As long as you don't have them set to 0, it won't go out. But when you first build the kit, they're all set to 0. So all I ended up doing was, when I was going through the menus, I ended up looking at this and even though I've turned it off now, it's still on. I have to wait a minute, and then I have to press the reset button over here to make sure it's off. It's still on now, because I've ran into that problem the second day after it kicked out again after figuring it out. Now, when it was blank, how you get it back is if I were to go and do this, if I were to turn the brightness down to 0, okay, now it's stuck. You can't see anything. You can't see your menu. How you get this thing back is you're going to press this button 5 times and then press this button. So I'm going to press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I can start bringing my display up. That's how you get it back if you manage to lock yourself out on the software. Some of the other features that this one has is if I go into the menu, if I go to auto date, for example, and I turn the auto date on, this is what will happen with auto date turned on. It'll display the 4-letter words. Now it's going blank. I think I gotta wait a minute and reset it, and it should display the 4-letter words followed by the date and then the time. There goes the time. But I have to wait a minute. You'll hear it beep. It should beep once, and then I can reset it. There, it just beeped. So now I can reset this. Now we get to the 40-second mark. It should display my 4-letter word. And then if everything goes as planned, it should then display the date. After doing this, it should scroll the date and then go back to the time. Okay, now we're back to time, and now the date should scroll. Okay, it didn't. Is auto date turned on? Whoops, wrong button. Auto date is off. I'll turn auto date back on, and we'll see whether it will save. That's the fun of working with these things, is that it's just working the way through how the software works on them. The instructions are clear as mud, and you kind of have to muddle your way through to figure out exactly how the thing works. There's also a temperature setting where it'll display the temperature for a few seconds. See, now it's blanking right out after doing that. It should beep. There's the date. We're coming up on the 40-second mark here. See if it'll do its thing. It didn't. It didn't do the auto date. Interesting. And I bet it's off again. Auto date is, yeah, it's off. Interesting. I'll let it sit for a full minute this time and just see whether it actually does save the date. Okay, it looks like it does work. I didn't have to reset it. Let's see if it'll do the date. Okay. Now what's it doing? Well, that's a bug. All I did was turn the auto date on, and did not reset it. And after a minute there, it started just spewing out words. Okay, now the date comes up. And now what's it doing? And now the time comes up. Let's just see. It seemed to go an awful long time there. What the heck? So turning on the auto date appears to turn on when 4-letter words is on. It'll just start spewing out 4-letter words, and keep doing that until the next minute comes up. And as you can see, it just keeps on doing this until the next hour or the next minute comes up. Then it's going to just scroll the date and show the time. So it's really kind of buggy software, if you ask me. I don't think it should be doing this. It should be showing the time there. It's going to do the time, and it's going to show right till the first. I think it's 4 seconds. So was it 4 seconds it went out? Yeah. You see, and if you turn on the auto date without turning on the 4-letter words, it blanks the display at this point. It puts it, as I put in one of my comments, it shows the date, and then it shows the time until it gets to 4 seconds, and then it blanks the time out. It's really quite quite weird the way it works. But certainly if you... Oh, I saw that one come up. I saw a bad word come up there. Yeah, okay. We might actually see some swear words in here. But anyway, that's if you want to show off the 16-segment alphanumeric display, the 4-letter word generator is certainly a way to do that. I'm going to turn on the auto temperature now. I want to see what that does. So if we scroll through here, and there'll be date. No, it's setting the date. Where is it? Temp. Let's turn the temp on. I just want to see what that does. That should show the temperature as well. There's the temperature. And then it goes back to 4-letter words. But if you turn off the 4-letter words and just have the time and the temperature on, or the date and the temperature on, it'll show you the date, and then it'll show you the time for 5 seconds, and then it goes blank, and then it comes up at the 30-second mark and shows you the temperature, and then it goes blank again, and then goes, so it's kind of useless. What would have been useful is the auto date, if it would scroll the date and the day. Be great if it said, like Wednesday or Tuesday, March the 6th, which is when I'm shooting this. If it said that, if it scrolled the date across the screen, that would actually be more useful than this. But that's what it does. There's our temperature again, which it's incidentally, it's not 21 degrees here. That might be the temperature on the board itself, but it's only about 11 degrees here in the workshop. So I don't know where that temperature is coming from. Maybe that's the chip temperature, but it's definitely not the temperature that it is here. But anyway, that's... As you can see, it's kind of it's random. Okay, let's get rid of that crap. So I'm going to turn off the auto date Let that save, and I'm going to turn off the auto temperature, or the temperature off. We'll see if that saves it or whether I have to reset it. Yeah, okay, now it's going to blank. It'll blank right up to the top of the minute. And then I'll probably have to reset it at this point. To say resetting this thing with the reset button seems to solve a lot of the issues that it, the strange quirks that it has. I haven't tried setting an alarm on it yet, so we'll try setting an alarm and see how that works, because that's the only feature I really haven't explored on this. I think this is an excellent little kit, and it certainly is. It shows off these are big tubes, and they're they're kind of cool. Even these ones are cool. The reason this one's a little dimmer than the other one is because they supplied me with the wrong resistor for the. Now that one's setting words out. Yeah, let's see whether this continues or whether it stays. Whether it blanks. Yeah, it blanks. So I have to reset this thing. And that should bring the display back. Now this one's gone into cycling words. And even though I didn't turn it on, I turned it off. Right, it's off. So now I've got this back. I'm just going to reset this one. As I say, resetting tends to fix the problem in most cases. This should still be in 4-letter words, so it should still scroll the 4-letter words at the 40-second mark, because I haven't turned that off. There. So it should only do it for the first, or the last 10 seconds there. If I want to turn that off, I just scroll 4-letter word, turn it off, and then I gotta wait a minute, I believe, and reset it, because it'll still, I think it still kicks out at the 40-second point. It'll still blank the display. I have to reset the clock after doing that. But you'll hear it chirp when it saves. Well, maybe we're okay this time. We might be okay. But turning it on, you definitely have to reset it, or it won't. It'll just blank the display for 10 seconds. It'll just go completely blank for 10 seconds unless you reset it. So I think we're okay. To set the alarm on this, we're using the number 1 button here and the number 2 button. There, now it just saved. You hear that beep there. So we go over here to alarm, press the right button, hour, minute, right? So I want to set it to say, I'm going to set it to, what time is it now? 6:50? I'll set it to 6:50. So I'll go to alarm, hour, at 6 o'clock, and then minute. I'll set it to 6:51 because I won't make it for 6:50. So I'll set it for 6:51. And that should save. And then I just have to turn the switch on the back here. Turn the alarm switch on. It says alarm is on now. And in 1 minute it should beep. So we'll just stop the camera for 1 minute. So the alarm should sound in about 3 seconds. Now I wonder what happens if I press one of the buttons back here. I was wanting to see how long it'll go for. I'm just going to press a button without turning off the switch. And I guess that silences it. Yeah. So the 2 switches on the back, if you press the right switch here, looking from the top, the first time you press the button, and this does the same on both clocks. If I press this one here, it puts it into a 4-digit display, right? 6:51 p. If I press it a second time, it will scroll the date. So that's how you set the alarm, and then turn it on and off. You just have to switch on the back. So turn it off. Does it say anything? It doesn't. It says alarm off. Flick it on. It'll just says alarm. You see, so alarm is on. Flick it to the left. Alarm off. That's how it works. Doesn't get any simpler than that. As I say, software is a bit quirky. You got to kind of play around with it, and there are definitely some bugs in the software. But if you can work with the bugs, I think, you know, anybody who builds one of these will really enjoy it. There are some acrylic cases available that I'm going to order for both of these so that I can put them on display and not have to worry about them getting damaged. But he does have some kits or cases available, so I think I'm going to order one for each of them, and that way I can put them on display and I don't have to worry about them getting banged around or the tubes broken, because these are quite rare. If you're going to build one of these, well, I would recommend building that one myself, but these ones here are hard to come by. Now, both of them are hard to come by. When I ordered this one, I got on the waiting list, and I was on the waiting list for about, I think 8 months to get it. And this one wasn't even listed. And then this one came available. And I saw this one come up, and I looked at it on the website, and it said limited quantities, and I ordered one, and I got the last one. So now they're on back order again. I don't know when the 6-digit one will be available. I got them through Tindy.com. If you go to Tindy.com and look for VFD clock or Nixie clock, he also has some Nixie clocks as well. He has these VFD clocks. He has the single tube one, which I've also built. I built the Adafruit version. But he's got the 8-digit single tube, which uses a calculator display, and he's got both of these ones. I say last time I checked, this one was on back order, but I'm sure he'll get some more in stock. Very well built kits. I like it. You know, they look fantastic. The instructions to build leave a little to be desired. There's a few errors on that, and there's some bugs in the software that you have to be aware of. That dimming feature was the big one that took me a while to figure out, but now I know if it goes dead, if it goes out, all I know is you can press this button 5 times, and then I can dial up the display. So it's not a big deal now that we know how to fix it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll leave I'll put the link on the description here for these to buy right from his website, or you can just go to Tindy.com and buy them through there.